Like it or not, winter's coming. That's right, winter is coming. So I decided to jump on the diesel heater train and check it out. And you can jump on board too, because we're giving one away in this video.
Here I come. Oh, here I come. Oh.
What you gotta do is grab the code word in the video, chuck it down below in the comments, put in a sentence just to confuse a few of the other followers, subscribe to the channel, and you can win yourself a heater. In this video, I want to cover a few things. Why I purchased this unit, what I expect to get out of this unit, installation and running the unit, and a few comments and a bit of a review at the end of the video. These things seem to be everywhere at the moment, being used by RVers and campers alike to heat everything from rooftop tents, ground tents, RVs, caravans, campers, small workshops and the like. So I thought I'd grab one and see if it works with my lifestyle when I'm trying to brave the elements. Okay, so we could all use another heater, and I got this for three main reasons. To heat the camping equipment like the rooftop tent and tents. Secondly, to try and heat up the workspace, the workshop during days and nights when it gets a bit cooler. And thirdly, I just like to buy stuff and have a bit of a tinker around with it and see if it sort of suits my lifestyle. And honestly, it doesn't hurt to have a spare heater just laying around, does it? Companies like Wabusco, which I'm not even sure if I'm saying right, have been making these units for decades. And for all the research I've done, it just sounds like they are producing a quality product with amazing performance. The catch being, they're expensive. They're over $1,000. But with that, you do get the German engineering and years of experience in making these products and refining them along the way. The original manufacturers like Wabusco and the like, their patents have run out. So that means that other manufacturers can enter the market using the same designs and produce a unit like this for sub $300. And if it keeps me warm at night, how can I justify spending $1,000 plus on a comparable unit to this one when I can get this for under $300? Look, I do have some concerns about a cheap unit here. Are the parts? I mean, the parts, are they inferior and poorly made? How much heat's going to be in the output here? Is it going to be a lot more or a lot less? Fuel use, consumption? Is the fans going to be noisy? The fuel pump, a little concerned. You hear rumours that the fuel pump's noisy, but that could just be a diesel heater. So the way I look at it is I figure that best case scenario, I've spent a few $100, the unit performs well and I'm happy and I get to make a video. Worst case is I've spent a few $100, I'm not out that much. I get to work out if a unit like this suits my lifestyle and my needs, and I can decide whether or not I want to invest more money into a product like a German unit to suit my needs. And also I get to make a video. So let's start by assembling the unit and then we'll push it into a test run. So you can see in the package we got ourselves an air filter, a manual, some exhaust tubing, some air intake tubing to go with the air filter, a bag of hose clamps and the like, and a few lengths of tubing to go on the front. Now the unit has a clip on each corner to get the cover off, but they just sit in. So like this one here is already starting to fall out like that. So what I think you can do is you can put a screw through the hole to screw it to the cover, because remember when you're lifting the unit it relies on these clips. So if you start to lose the clips, then you're not going to be able to lift the unit because the handles are just going to lift the cover off and you're not going to be able to carry it. The unit has a fuel cap which fits through the top, so you can leave the fuel cap on. Front of the unit, as you can see, has got an LCD display and some outlets. Now I chose the 4-port outlets, and I think I've already made a mistake with that, but I'm going to go on the internet and see if I can find an adapter or something to make it into one. I was really interested to see what the 4 was like, and I'm already regretting it because that's really going to be where you mount it and have 4 outlets, maybe in each room or something, I'm not sure. Inside the unit, fuel tank, as you can see it's clear, so you can see the level of fuel you have, the fuel cap, fuel pump with the fuel lines running around to the unit. They come in the bottom, and the heater itself, so air drawn in, hot air out, and it has on the bottom a exhaust and air inlet. Now it's also good to mention that there's another 4 clips and this whole base plate comes off, allowing you to pick the whole unit. Right. So there's this base plate here. So that would be, I guess, for your installation, you can set that down, screw it down, cut through, and then fit, put this unit back on. And the fuel tank is just floating there. So I'm not really sure if it's supposed to have cable ties or it just relies on the unit sitting there. But yeah, we'll maybe address that later on. And I've already got diesel fingers here. And the parts it comes with: manual, exhaust, which is flexible, you can bend it, it's ribbed, and I've already done a few bends off camera just to sort of see how it was going to work. Get you a bit of hose and an air filter that you can screw on. And looks like some outlet tubing. I got 2 of these lengths. And looks like power wire, cable ties, hose clamps, and a remote control. So obviously control this either by the screen or by the remote. By assembling it, I think I'm going to put the cover back on, just so the fuel tank doesn't fall out while I'm trying to work on it. And I'm going to get a screw and put a screw through this. It's got a little self-tapper here. It's got to be unlatched to do that. Just goes in like this. There we go. Move this out of the way. Start with the power lead. Now, it came with this power lead, and it's about 2 meters of lead, and honestly it's not the prettiest thing I've ever seen. It's just got 2 crimped ends on it, and this one had no fusing. So what I've decided is, I think your best bet is to throw this away, because it's going to be like for hardwired or something like that, so we don't want that. What you do want is go get yourself an Anderson lead with pre-crimped terminals, and on the back of the unit, see the terminals here. Now I got stitched up, I only got 1 finger type nut or something. I had to find another nut just for the other terminal. So we'll just chuck these on, negative, positive. And for me, I feel it's going to be an easier way for me to power the unit. I can just use an Anderson lead, so maybe at night when the solar panel's not running, I can take the lead off that, plug it into a power source and plug it in. Alright, so I guess we'll go with the exhaust. We'll get the unit on its side here. Get the exhaust pipe. Now, I've already bent this up, and I found that the unit, this is too narrow for it to come out the side here properly. And the inlet and outlet aren't actually marked with anything. So you've got to read the manual and kind of nut it out. So with our hose clamp, we just put that on. And I said I've already trimmed a little bit of it just to really push it up. I didn't want to go using some random fitting, like a plumber's fitting or something that's a bit tighter. Yeah, so here we go, we'll just one up. Okay. And the air filter. Now the air filter doesn't look that good. I can see a lot of light through it. It's mesh, looks like it's like 5mm at best. See straight through that. But that's what we've got. So the hose here, it looks like as you stretch it out a bit, it expands. So you can wind on your air intake. And I'm going to thread it through this hole. I haven't really read the instructions, but it just looks like that's where it goes. Another pipe clamp. So, get that on. have it. And that's the issue we're talking about. It's actually, I've bent it that tight that this is still hitting whatever surface you're going to have it on. So here we're going to have it on a table. We'll have to probably get a barbecue plate just to jack it up a bit. And when it's in the field, I guess we'll look at pumping the unit up a bit. Right, so I'm going to, I think I'm going to chuck a saddle on the side here, just to keep it out the way. Unit comes with a few of these saddles, so right, and the air intake on the back. I think laying in the dirt's probably not a good idea. Stretch it out, and I think we can just, for now, saddle it up out here out the way. And that way it's not just flapping around, and can kind of maybe address that later on if we like the unit and work out how we're going to tack this. I don't think tucking it straight underneath is a really good idea because it's sitting in the dust and the dirt, and it's just not going to do any favours. So maybe just up out the way for now, away as far as possible from the exhaust. Now it's time to give the unit a run. So what we've got here is we've got a battery bank here, a 204 amp hour lithium. We haven't done anything about that yet. We'll do that in another video. We've got it plugged into an Anderson plug here. So we'll just go ahead and plug the unit in. Straight away, as you can see, the display comes on, and we'll push the power button once to start it running on. As you can see, straight away the fan starts up to run, looks like air through the unit, just to clear whatever else out. Now look, it's also pays to note, I ran this off camera a couple of times and deliberately shut it down like straight away, and I've tried to abuse it a little bit, just to see what it'd do when you use it after not doing the cool down process properly. So it's got smoke heaps, it's got additional fuel in there, I don't know, and will it run fine? So I figured for a cheaper unit, we'd give it a little bit of abuse and just see what happens. Got the exhaust at the back here for now, and we are in a well ventilated area with some fans down there going just to suck any exhaust gases out here. And so you can see we've got the air filter connected. The air comes in from the room to heat here. Still it's cold. We've just put a barbie plate down on the table just to stop any potential meltage happening from the exhaust as to how it bends under the unit and across. I was going to put it on some blocks, but I figured the plate would probably be better protection just for now. As you can see, the display is indicating that the fan's running. We'll also set it to 2 cycles, so mid-range kind of heat, and allow the unit to do its startup. You can see on the LCD display that there's a fan icon spinning, and I don't know if you can hear that on camera, the fuel pump has just started, and the exhaust, now you can hear it kick in. Now as you can see from the bit of abuse we gave it, it's a little bit smoky over here, and I expect that to clean right up. The fuel pump's kicked in, fans kicking on, the glow plug must be kicking in, and you can see here on the screen it's starting to pull more than 7 amps according to the BMS in the battery. It's at 8.3 amps now, and the air's starting to slowly warm up. It's lukewarm. 4 minutes in and the glow plug's kicked down. The exhaust temperature is quite hot. You're not going to put your hand anywhere near that, and the air temperature on the front, it's considerably very hot. I can't leave my hand there too long, leave it out here, but get close and it wants to burn me. And the unit itself, its current draw has gone down to about 4 amps. So we'll grab a temperature gun and give it a temperature test. Now I'm just pointing it into the inlet here. Now we're going to dial up the temperature to max on the screen. That's 5.5 cycles. Now as the unit starts to ramp up, because I've given it a higher rating, its max output, it is picking up noise, but it's not too bad. The temperature is definitely getting hot, but the current rating is staying at about 2 amps draw. This is just the fuel pump and the fan running. And it looks like it's getting at about 82 degrees Celsius. The exhaust as well, it appears to be at 100 degrees, so very hot. You don't want to touch that. Can't really even hold your hand, or wouldn't hold your hand out in front of it. And I can't see I'm not sure what you can see on camera, but it looks like a lot of the smoke is clear. And the current draw is sitting at about 3.3 amps, which is, with this battery, you can run all night if you need it to. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and turn the unit off just by pushing the off button and let it start into its cool down mode. Straight away you can hear it, you can hear the fuel pump's kicked off, the exhaust is almost gone in temperature. The fan is dialed down a little bit, but it's definitely running just to start cooling the unit through and run into its cool down cycle. But strange enough, the current draw is at about 5 amps, so maybe it's running the glow plug to try and burn off any carbon deposits or anything. I'm just speculating. And it's sits under about 6 to nearly, or 7.5 amps at this stage. Well, you know what, for a cheap unit, it's definitely going to heat that rooftop tent of mine and maybe any other small tents we have. It's not going to do my workshop. The workshop's just too big, and I was probably just overstating what I thought this unit could do. So how do I feel about the unit? You know what, it just feels cheap. We know it's a cheap unit. It's not a $1,000 unit. It's a sub $300 unit. It just feels cheap. Everything from the sheet metal to the clips to the bits of exhaust you get, the way the electrics were sort of a little bit loose at the back here, we had to play around with it. It just feels cheap. Now, there's no question that the unit doesn't work. It definitely works, definitely heats. But the question is, am I going to get what I pay for? And is the unit going to last, and for how long? Or, you know, is it better off just going out and spending $1,000 on a top of the range German unit and not even bothering with this particular brand? And you know what? The size of the unit just feels awkward. It's just a weird shape, a weird size with the pipes hanging off. I'm not sure I'm going to transport it. I think I have to work something better out with this exhaust and maybe have to take it off every time I use it, or be able to bend it up in a manner that it can maybe just be all tucked in with it in another box or something and chucked somewhere. I'm just not too sure about that. So it is a bit awkward. And my other concern is the exhaust. Now, it sort of come to my attention looking through the manual that these units aren't made to be a standalone unit like we see here. It's made to be all in one, screwed to a bench or a caravan floor. You cut a hole and exhaust the fumes out of the room you're in. So this sits in the room and it draws the air from the back of the room through to heat it up, so that you're always reheating that air and upping the temperature. Having this exhaust anywhere, any direction around this unit, is going to have the potential for it to get drawn back into the unit and into the space that you're heating. So if you're in a tent and you've got this up into the tent, there is a potential for the exhaust gas to come back into the unit and up. Now, I wouldn't use this sleeping. This is not something you would go to sleep with in the tent running all night. Honestly, you get cooked because it heats that much, but you need to use things like carbon monoxide sensors and that kind of stuff. This isn't the kind of unit that you put on the ground outside, pipe up into your caravan, into the floor or something, use the remote from inside and run the unit, because of the exhaust. You just don't know where it's going to sit and how it's going to perform and where those gases are going to go. So I guess you could have a carbon monoxide sensor inside while this unit's under the caravan piping in, but realistically it's made to be mounted into the space you're heating, and the exhaust is being exhausted out. In saying that, I'm going to keep tinkering around with it and see what we can come up with. So as I said, I'm not going to use it when I'm sleeping. It's just going to be to preheat the tent, or while you're awake, and then have a carbon monoxide sensor just in case something does happen. Also, the unit itself doesn't claim to be weatherproof. So if you're gonna have this outside covered in rain and snow and whatever, it's just gonna shorten its lifespan. So if you're going to use it outside, you want to have some sort of cover or box that it's going to be protected from the elements. The manual itself, it's not much chop either. Realistically, there's a lot of pictures, but it's been translated a few times from other languages to English, and realistically, it's not very good. The pictures are good on how to install it, but it just doesn't translate well. Saying that too, as you saw, the LCD screen is quite easy to use. It's just got on, off, up and down for your pump settings, and a visual display that tells you what the heater is doing with the coloured lines and dashes as we showed in previous, and like a battery monitor. And the remote itself is even simpler, just on, off, and plus and minus. So realistically, throw this thing away and go online, and there's plenty of groups dedicated to this kind of stuff who, if you have problems with any type of these controllers or the units, or you want to soup it up a bit, they're the ones to really guide you through. I mean, YouTube is going to be your friend when it comes to sorting out your particular controller. Well, there you go. So far, I'm impressed with this unit, and if there's any shortcomings, I'll definitely do another video to outline what the problems were. But if you have a cheap unit like this, I'd love to hear about how you keep it running, what tricks you do to the unit, and to make it really perform, or constant maintenance and that kind of stuff. And if you have an expensive German brand like the Wabusco, I think that's how you say it, I'd love to hear about how those expensive units compare to the Chinese knockoffs. We also would like to know that if you have the all-in-one, or if you've got a unit that you've put together yourself in maybe a caravan, because maybe you can get an all-in-one assembled for you, or you can buy the parts and put them in. How did that go for you? How did the installation go? Were there any tips or tricks, or would you just, next time get one of these, just cut a hole in the ground, in the floor, put it over the top of that, seal it up, and away you go? In our caravan, we have a gas unit, a Truma gas heater. Same as this, but it runs on gas. Problem being is they are like $3,000. There's only a couple of brands in Australia that actually install them or manufacture them, and they used to be done by a licensed plumber, so that's where the money is. They come and install it, and the thing works great, but for that kind of price, we get a different display. We can just set it at 22 degrees, and the thing will just cycle on and off all night long, and heating the van as we need. I don't know, can you get that kind of thermostat for these things and retrofit them? I mean, that'd be fantastic if you could set the temperature and let it run and select and cycle on and off. Not that you're going to sleep while this unit's running. It's just a bit sketchy. I think a lot of this, even with the gas one, we've got carbon monoxide monitors, that whole lot. But yeah, I'd love to know if you could even change the display, or there's maybe a more expensive model you can get with a better display. As I said before, the exhausters, I've got to play around with that. I'm definitely going to wrap it with some heat shielding just to stop any accidental touching. And I've got to work out which way I'm going to sort of position it. I don't want to have like 4 meters of exhaust out the front. I'm trying to keep it away from the rear. I think that's a bit too much. I'm not sure on how we're going to do that. Market to get one of these, go out and get one, have a play with it. They seem like a great thing and a good way to stay warm. All right, thanks for watching. So as always, if you haven't found the code word, go back through the video, find it, chuck it down below in the comments, put in a bit of a sentence just to hide it from the others and make it a bit more fun. And enjoy our other videos. We always seem to have a competition running. And yeah, until next time.